"I'd better get this truck back home," Felix said, making an exaggerated show of checking his watch. "If there are any more donations that get called in from now until the party, tell them I'll pick them up on Christmas Eve." "Not so fast." Ali stepped between him and the van door. "Thank you for collecting the presents, but they still need to be wrapped and labelled." "But You volunteered for the whole shebang, not just the fun bits. Now get on in there, or I'll have Dotty drag you by the ears." Felix took a few dragging steps towards the community centre entrance, then slyly slipped a hand around Braden's wrist as he too tried to sidle away. "Not so fast. You heard the lady." Ali shook her head as Dotty herded the men inside. "Between them and young John, I think I'd rather supervise a young offender any day." "I can stay if you want the extra help," Marjorie offered. "The kittens have an hour until they expect feeding, and I can put the rest of my chores off until tomorrow. Not if one of those tasks is getting the ingredients you need for the Christmas Day baking. Won't the wholesale warehouse be a madhouse the closer it gets to the big day?" Marjorie had to agree. "Everything will be. I don't understand why 2 days holiday caused so much havoc. When I was growing up, every shop shut for the weekend and nobody was panicked into mass buying goods. We appear to have lost the art of planning ahead." Ali jerked around as a crash sounded from inside the centre. "I'd better get back to it." Marjorie made a commiserating noise, but Ali had already rushed indoors, out of sight. The fresh paint on the side of the building caught the afternoon sun and reflected it back, turning the car park gravel yellow. If she squinted, a message was still visible, a faint shade darker than the covering paint. It would need another coat before the job was done, but she supposed John needed to wait until the first layer dried. "Whatever happened to the Christmas spirit?" she said under her breath, while walking back to her car. With volunteers ensuring the less fortunate members of the community received a hearty Christmas meal and presents, there should have been happiness and excitement in the air. Instead, everyone was frayed around the edges. Putting the dismal thoughts aside, Marjorie headed back to her cafe. Although it was already past 5 o'clock, she groaned to see the builders were still dotted about the section in front of hers. They were laying the foundations for the next-door building, with the actual construction to take place next year. Although she was glad to see progress being made, the raucous language hurled about made her uneasy for her customers. The sooner they were gone, the better. "This one of yours?" a man called out, as Marjorie fumbled with the keys to the entrance. "He looks in a bad way." She rushed over, hearing a piteous mew from underneath a tarpaulin covering up a sheaf of metal rods. "Here, kitty." "Ugly thing," the man said, sniffing and wiping his nose on the back of his arm. "It looked half dead." "If you were half dead, I'm sure you'd look ugly too," Marjorie snapped, lifting the edge of the cover and spying reflective grey eyes. "You want a hand with that?" The man stepped forward and yanked the entire sheet off the pile, exposing a tiny kitten to the sunlight and setting the rods clanging against each other. "What a sight, eh?" "Come on," Marjorie said, clicking her tongue in encouragement as the kitten eyed her warily. "Wouldn't you like something to eat?" "I've got a bit of sandwich left over from lunch, if you want to try that." But it wasn't needed. The kitten pounced on Marjorie's outstretched hand and rubbed along her arm before running into the shelter of her crouching legs. "Hey now, it's okay. I've got you." She picked up the small cat, cradling it against her chest. "Where's it hurt?" the builder asked, pointing at the sticky crimson smudge the kitten had left on Marjorie's arm. "You need a lift to the vet?" She stared at the smudge, turning so it was in full sunlight. Blood.